Okay, we're good to go.
Awesome. Thanks, Vicki.
Welcome.
I can't get my camera to work, so I'm gonna have to do it. Looks like without my camera. Is anybody else seeing me? I'm assuming not, because I can't see myself there.
Yeah, I don't see you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I am here. So let's go ahead and call to order. It is 6:31 on August 20th, 2024. If you guys would all join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the
To the
flag
flag of
of
the
the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation, under God, indivisible,
with
with liberty and
justice.
justice for all.
Thanks for everybody joining us. Sorry, do we have a quorum, Vicki? I'm only
Yeah, all members are present.
Perfect, thank you. Because it wasn't shown on the screen, but I need to make it. There it is. I made it bigger. Our first item up tonight is approval of minutes from the July 16th, 2024 meeting. If you guys have had a chance to review those, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion?
If I may, when you make the motion, can you state your name and then make the motion, please?
Pat Marnell, motion to approve.
Mark Young, second the motion.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes as presented, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That motion carries. Moving on to item number 3, technical review TR 2224-01, Schwabe Williamson and Wyatt PC at 2500 Industrial Avenue. Holly, do you want to?
Yes, sir.
Go from there?
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
Vicki, could I bother you to allow me to share my screen? I think that might be helpful in this discussion.
Okay, you should be able to do it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that visible for everyone now?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, great. For the record, my name is Holly Byram, and I work for the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments. In my role as contract city planner, my goal is to help the Hubbard Planning Commission understand their decision criteria when they receive new land use applications. So what we have before us this evening is a technical review. This is not a formal public hearing. It is simply a planning commission decision with a staff recommendation here. This evening's technical review is regarding an industrial gravel yard, and the Planning Commission has approved a couple gravel yards over the past few years. You'll remember the school bus yard and the electrical equipment supply yard, and so it's not terribly unusual. You'll remember that your development code does require paving a formal parking lot next to that gravel yard. And so typically this comes in with another type of land use application to be considered concurrently, but tonight's a standalone technical review. And so this property is located at 2500 Industrial Avenue. We have a potential new industrial business coming in, and they would like to use the property as it has been in the past. This property was previously approved for an industrial yard back in 2013. However, the way it's been used has been slightly out of compliance with what was approved. So the intention with this application is to bring it back into compliance and then ensure moving forward they have permission to operate that yard. This would be for large equipment, like contractor laydown yard here. So big picture overall here, no new development is proposed. The building is existing. The paved entrance driveway is existing. There's a paved parking area that needs to be restriped, but it seems to be sufficient for that building. So no new impervious surface here. Pretty straightforward. I'll scan forward through the staff report here. So here's an aerial photo, and this comes from the Marion County GIS. So this is right at the curve in Industrial Avenue here. This is the existing building here. There's actually 3 parcels here, but they have an easement agreement for access. There's a paved driveway that comes in off of Industrial, and then the gravel yard starts here. The paved area that is existing, you can kind of see it here along the west side of the gravel yard, but it's over the time been used for storage of materials as well. And then there's been kind of an informal gravel parking area for employee vehicles that has sprung up here. And so the applicant has stated that will not continue to be used for vehicle parking. The applicant has provided a site plan here, and I've included that in the staff report. So essentially, this whole gravel yard is proposed to remain. Vehicle parking will be paved and striped here. What we do need to see is for the applicant or property owner to restripe that parking to ensure that it remains functional and that it meets city standards for dimensions there. In this staff report, you'll also see there's a recommendation for striping a crosswalk to ensure that the employees can safely cross from the parking to the industrial building here, right at the beginning of that gravel yard where there's an the intersection of the driveway with the parking lot. So the decision criteria is pretty minimal for this type of an application. The use is outright permitted in the industrial district. And because there's no significant remodel or expansion proposed here, there's no trigger for a site development review. So you're really just looking at the off-street parking and loading standards. So we just need to basically check the boxes that they have sufficient parking for this building, and they certainly do. Again, the Planning Commission is granted authority for a gravel yard approval here in this section of the Hubbard Development Code 2.203.07 parking and loading area development requirements. And then the applicant statement there is included, which demonstrates their need for that gravel yard to remain for the purpose of their specific industrial business. It makes sense for them. One item to point out, there was some concern about clear vision area. Scrolling back up here to the aerial image, there's an existing storage container right here, and there is some concern about clear vision area with the north-south parking lot here and then the east-west driveway coming in here. So there's a recommendation that that storage container be relocated. It's not a condition of approval, but it's recommended for employee safety. So overall, this review is very simple. We're not looking at stormwater because there's no new impervious area. We're not looking at landscaping and lighting, and that was all addressed previously with prior land use reviews. The conditions of approval recommended here are very simple. Maintenance of that paved parking area and the striping is the ongoing obligation of the property owner. And that means that that doesn't get converted back into storage area on that pavement. All areas used for parking beside that gravel yard is to be paved, and that those parking spaces should be striped, and that the crosswalk should be striped to connect the parking to the building. So pretty straightforward. We want to support new businesses locating into Hubbard or relocating within Hubbard, and this is one way the Planning Commission can do that. So staff's recommendation is to approve the technical review 2024-01, adopting the findings and recommended conditions of approval. I'm happy to answer any questions the Planning Commission may have. Again, it's not a formal hearing, but if the applicant is present this evening, they're welcome to say some words if the Planning Commission desires.
Thanks, Holly.
Sure.
Do we have the applicant on?
Yes, you do.
Would you like to say something? You're more than
Sure.
welcome to. Sure, go ahead.
Good evening, Chair Hall and members of the Planning Commission. For the record, my name is Keenan Orden Bacallion. I'm an attorney with the law firm Schwalbe, Williamson and Wyatt. My address is 1211 Southwest Fifth Ave, Portland. Tonight I'm appearing on behalf of the property owner, the C. Clark and Henry Nesta family partnership. I'm going to keep things very, very short. We agree with the staff's recommendation of approval, as well as the findings in the staff report. I'm just going to briefly address a couple of things that Ms. Byram raised. I think in terms of the parking and the striping, it's my understanding we may have already restriped that parking lot, but certainly we'd accept a condition of approval to make sure that that does happen. I think throughout the years from the previous approval in 2013, prior tenants have started to use that parking area as storage. We will make sure that does not happen. I think the striping will go a long way in achieving that. In terms of the shipping container, I understand it's not a condition of approval, but again, we hear the recommendation, and if it makes sense for the property owner and the tenant to relocate that, they absolutely will. So other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have. Very appreciate staff's work on this. And again, we agree with the recommendation of approval here.
Thanks, Keenan.
Yeah.
Do any Planning Commission members have any questions? Sounds like crickets. Thank you for joining us. Really do appreciate it. We can go ahead and move to, a motion part of this. Is there any discussion between planning commissioners on this action? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion based on staff approval or the staff options.
This is Brad.
Go ahead.
This is Brad. I'll motion to approve the technical review, adopting the findings and recommended conditions of approval.
Pat Marnell, I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? That motion carries, and welcome to Hubbard. All right, so that takes care of the technical review. We have one other item on our agenda, which is a public hearing. I'm guessing, since we didn't have any paperwork, that this is just going to be a continuation of hearing. But I'll turn it over to you, Holly, for just a little bit of background.
Yes, absolutely. So the Planning Commission will remember that back at their regular July meeting, I believe it was July 16th, we started learning a little bit more about the G Street rezoning package. And just as a refresher, this was a map error that occurred between 2000 and 2001 when the maps were converted from black and white to color. So we've had a couple of pieces of correspondence mailed out to the property owners, just notifying them of the city's intention to restore those back to residential zoning and designation from commercial. At the last meeting, Vicky was able to relay some feedback to us that at least one of the property owners was interested in remaining in commercial, and that property makes the most sense. And the reason being that it is mostly undeveloped aside from an accessory structure, and it is abutting the commercial corridor for Highway 99E. So what you'll see in the package moving forward is only 5 of those properties are going to be proposed to be restored back to residential zoning and designation rather than the full 6. And so I apologize, we don't have the findings prepared and ready to roll tonight. That was simply a capacity issue. And so what I would recommend is the Planning Commission simply continue the public hearing to their next regular meeting. And that would be, let's see, looking at September, the third Tuesday would be September 17th. And on that evening, we will ensure that we hear any remaining public comments and that the Planning Commission can make a recommendation to the City Council to move forward with the map correction.
Pat Marnell, motion to continue.
Have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second. Brad seconds.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. So this is for a continuation to September 17th at our next regular Planning Commission meeting. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? That motion carries. Thank you, Holly, for your background information on that.
Thank you, folks.
And that is all that we have on our agenda. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mark Young will second. Wait, Mark Young, motion to adjourn. My apologies.
Thank you.
Oh,
Pat Marnell, second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we will move to a vote. All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Thanks, you guys, for showing up. Much appreciated.
Thanks.
Thank you. Everybody have a good evening.
You too.